Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show. What is going on, Planet 76? This is Troy. I've got Michael with me for, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that until just now. This is episode 58 or 59, right? It's not 60 yet. Could be 57. I take it to the bank. It is 57 through 59. One of those we'll know when we post this.
Let's find out.
And you'll know when you're listening or watching. But, yeah, so recording on Sunday, July 24th, late at night episode, and it's going to be a fun one. We're just kind of off the dome. Tis the season. Michael and I were just talking off air, just kind of tis the season for a little lull in action and as far as, Sixers content as we're well into free agency and all of those things, and the draft is well over. Summer League is now over. It's really in the middle of the offseason now. So we have some good Sixers-focused content today for you, though. So as always, whatever platform you're on, subscribe, like, share this, and yeah, Michael, let's get it rolling. What's up, man?
Episode 58. I mean 59. 59. Not 58. Yeah, I put out a little bit of stuff today on my page asking some people what they want to see on the episode. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. Again, make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast wherever you're at. I know we got some people on Instagram, obviously, but YouTube, Spotify, which I actually just used to check which episode this was.
There you
go. Go follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. You know the drill. Yeah.
You know the drill.
Yes.
Yeah, so like Michael said, he put out a post earlier today, mid-afternoon, I guess, and said, hey, what do you guys want to hear us talk about? Obviously, again, 'tis the season. We're free to go wherever, as Sixers fans would like us to go. So we appreciate anyone who was submitted some stuff, and we're going to get to all of that today. It's kind of a mailbag episode, if you will, just hitting on the topics that you guys suggested, some of the questions that you asked. So, yeah, I'll start with the first one that I see.
Yeah, do you want to just like kind of alternate, and then we can whoever is reading the question just answers the question, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'll start with the first one, and then I'll start with the softball, and then I'll toss it to you too. But Sixers Daily was wondering about starting lineup for the Sixers heading into the season.
Yes.
And the reason I say that's a softball is because it's pretty much going to look the same. Obviously, no Danny Green, but the Sixers did sign a guy for, 3-year, $30 million or something in P.J. Tucker. So... we've talked about that a little bit. I think P.J. Tucker's going to be in the starting lineup to go along with Tobias and Joel, Tyrese, and James Harden. And we'll get into some other questions about depth and things like that. But, that's got to be what we're looking like right now, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know how else it could go. I really wouldn't want to see Matisse Thybulle starting. I don't really think Danuel House is quite starting lineup caliber, I should say. And I don't really know with Melton. I think he's a little undersized, to be playing the 3. I think he's more suited at the 1 or the 2. So I'd have to say Tucker is the most likely candidate to fill in that 5th starting lineup slot. Because obviously, like you said, Harden, Maxey at the 1 and 2, Harrison B at 3 and 4. I'm sorry, 4 and 5. So I would say Tucker, because he still is we talked about it a few episodes ago. He still is a bit undersized, but I think his defense makes up for that, makes up for his lack of size. I think what he brings defensively makes up for that.
Yeah, exactly. The style of basketball he plays makes up for it in a big way. So yeah, that's what I would say. You mentioned Matisse. That certainly could happen. I just don't see it. I think they brought P.J. Tucker in to get some heavy lifting, for real. And so I think he's going to shine in that spot.
Yes.
What else we got? That was Sixers Daily with that question.
Yes. Oh, Okay, well, okay. For some reason, my Instagram's not letting me log in. So can you screenshot? Would you mind screenshotting the questions and emailing them to me?
Okay.
If
I can do that.
Because I screenshotted on my phone.
Oh, gotcha.
And on
your phone.
Yes.
Yeah, I can toss those your way right now. I already screenshotted them actually. So
I don't know why Instagram on the computer, it only lets you see posts if you log in. I don't know my password, so I can't log in. So technical difficulties here on the podcast.
Commercial break.
Yes.
And I'm going to send those Michael's way. Shout out to Knocker412. Says Doc Rivers sucks.
Doc Rivers sucks.
So that's another comment that we got in there. But friend of the show, we won't I don't know if we want to go with his yet because he's got a lot in there.
Yeah, let's keep his, I would say, till the end for sure.
Okay, yeah, we'll say friend of the show. He was on, shortly after we acquired James Harden. Way back in February, he was on Planet 76, and he offered some really, really good questions and some content, again, serving as the outline for today's episode. Yeah. So we'll hit on those in just a bit. So you see anything good there?
Oh, yes, here we go. Perfect. It's so annoying why Instagram doesn't let you log in, whatever, on your computer. Whatever. All right, so we got another one. Start Isaiah Joe. I think that might be a hot take. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that Isaiah Joe has earned. I think you have to earn it. I think in the NBA you have to earn a starting lineup, unless you're just a horrible team and anyone starts, which the Sixers certainly are not. I think you have to earn it, and nothing against Isaiah Joe. I just don't think he's earned it yet. I think there's a few guys that have probably earned it over him. Obviously, PJ Tucker being one of them. So I don't think I'm on that star Isaiah Joe boat quite yet. Who knows? Maybe mid-season Isaiah Joe's playing out of his mind, dropping 15 per game if he gets rotational minutes.
Yeah, more to come on that.
Yes.
So if you're an Isaiah Joe fan, we'll be talking about the rotations and depth issues here in just a moment. But
yes.
yeah,
so,
I agree.
Well
said.
I just, like I said, it's definitely a possibility. Again, he'd have to get consistent minutes, and he'd have to really play up to that, which, again, is going to be something for us to see later down the line. But right now, I would say probably not. Again, nothing against Isaiah Joe, just right now, probably not.
Right. Let's see. So a Furkan page.
Yes.
He's got a good question in here. Furkan Korkmaz. I guess you know that guy.
I do.
That's a good page. I see Furkan's got the shades on in the profile picture. Very classy. They say, what is the bench lacking, and what should we look for in a trade for Matisse? So a two-part question there. What is the bench lacking? I would say we've improved the bench significantly. We know that. Even with just DeAnthony Melton coming in is very, very big. I think he's going to be very big for this team. The one element that I think of multiple elements that he brings is some shot creation, 3-and-D. So he's going to step it up on the defensive end at the guard position, which is something we were lacking off the bench, which I think he fills a role in. The one thing I would say would still be nice, I wouldn't necessarily even say lacking, you can never have too many shooters, is what I would say. You can never have too many shooters to bring in guys that can knock down off the bench. But again, we're going to get to this in terms of depth, but a Shake, Milton, DeAnthony Melton off the bench scoring duo who can create their own shot is pretty intriguing, and I'm excited about that. And the one good thing about the bench now is DeAndre Jordan is no longer here. Paul Millsap is gone, so we're getting younger, and I think the bench is getting better. So I'm pretty happy with where the bench stands right now. What's your thoughts there? Then we'll talk about Matisse.
You mentioned DeAndre, and I really would like to know who in the Sixers organization gave them the green light to sign this dude. It was definitely Doc Rivers. But, yeah, with the whole Matisse thing, or do you want to go first with the Matisse thing? Or
No, you go ahead.
Okay. With the whole Matisse thing, I made a post about this a few weeks ago. I kind of got some lopsided answers about it. But with Matisse, yeah, he's great defensively. I think in a trade, I don't think he's going to be. I don't think it would be a 1-for-1 swap. I think it would probably have to be Matisse plus someone else, maybe Matisse plus someone else and pick something like that. I don't really think Matisse has value like that for it to be a straight up 1-for-1 swap.
Mm-hmm.
So in a Matisse deal, ideally you want someone who's better offensively and still okay defensively. I'd also say, get someone who's way better offensively and not great defensively. I think the trade-off can be made there and still have it work. But ultimately, I think you just want someone who's better offensively, whether it be a shooter, whether it be a guy who can create his own shot, whether it be both, whether it be a guy who's a great playmaker, whatever the case may be, something that adds some more layers to the Sixers offensively. Because, again, Matisse is great defensively. He adds a lot there, but I think the Sixers' defense is going to be just fine. I think their offense needs, and you mentioned it too a couple minutes ago, you can never have too much shooting. The Sixers' offense can't, it needs all the help it can get. Obviously, you have a generational offensive player in James Harden, but still, you can never have too much of that. And I think getting some of that in return for Matisse Thybulle is, no matter how it ends up, is a great return.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll touch on that, and you can look for the next question or topic. But with Matisse, I would say I would agree with what you said in terms of this trade thing, looking for him. It's going to be tough for a one swap, like you mentioned. And that's why you see in a lot of the mock trades, you see Matisse linked to Tobias Harris and picks for someone big, etc., because that's just kind of where it is. And I don't know about you, but as things have, certainly over the last couple of weeks, things have just kind of slowed down in Sixers land and, NBA news and things breaking. I don't know. Our team is looking more set by the day, and I'm not saying good, bad, indifferent. I'm just saying it's kind of looking like Matisse might be here again. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, as time goes on, I think, and I'm not saying we're anywhere close to the next season because it's in October. It's July still. But as time goes on, I think the potential of a Harris deal, Thybulle deal, significantly dwindles, if you will.
Right.
I really truly think that if anything was going to happen, it was going to happen a month ago during the draft, during free agency. That's when literally everything else happened. Rudy Gobert trade, all the most of the crazy moves that occurred did so back in late June, July 4th weekend ish. So as we get further and further away from those dates, that timeline, I think it's going to be less and less likely that Harris, Thybulle, all those guys that everybody wants to get traded actually do get traded.
Right. All right, what's next?
All right, I think we may have got one more, but I think I forgot to include it in the screenshots. So if that's you and you're listening, I do apologize. But all we have here, I think, is Williams. So do you want to get into Williams?
Yeah, let's do it.
He gave us a few. Again, shout out to William. He's been on the podcast.
He gave us one, and then I'll go one.
Cool. Do you want to do the first one? Or I'll do the first. How many are there? 6?
Probably.
Okay. All right, I'll do the first one. All right. Realistic tiers for both East and West. Okay, so general question. That's solid. Realistic tiers. So I'll start with the Eastern Conference. I think tier 1, I think, is the Bucks. I think they're. I was saying this past season. I think the Bucks are better than. I think there's a small gap between the Bucks and the rest of the Eastern Conference. I think they're just that good. I mean, with Giannis, any team really is going to be good, but the pieces they have and the guys that they got, they re-signed Bobby Portis. I think they got Serge Ibaka back as well. So those are massive moves to retain some of that depth that they had. Plus, they're getting Chris Milton back. And I think they signed someone else too, I forget. But I remember it being a really solid move. Anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. The Bucks, I think, are a decent step ahead of the rest of the Eastern Conference. So I put them in tier 1. Tier 2, now if the Nets stay, together, I'd probably put them in that Bucks tier, but I'm just assuming Durant's gone and Irving's gone. Tier 2, I would do the Sixers. I would do the Celtics. I would do the Heat. And that's probably it. I think the Celtics maybe could either be in a tier of their own or in the Bucks tier. Again, they did just make the final, so I want to give them their props and accurately rank them. But I think they can be placed in that tier with the Sixers and the Heat, because the Heat also almost made the finals. They almost beat the Celtics. So I would say that's tier 2. Tier 3 is going to be, for me, the Bulls, the Raptors, the Hawks, and Cavs is what I was missing. Teams that I think are going to be very good. Teams that I think can get past the first round and actually make the playoffs. I think the Hawks are going to make the playoffs this year. And teams that I think the Raptors are going to be very good. I don't think, actually, I know, because they are going to get Van Vliet back. They're going to get Gary Trent back. They signed Otto Porter, who's really good, and who I thought the Sixers should have signed, but it's fine. Yeah, I think that's the next tier. And then after that, I mean, depending on what the Knicks do, I don't know what's going on there, but depending on what the Knicks do, they could definitely jump into that tier. And then after that, it's just like Hornets, Magic. I mean, the Hornets probably be good still, but not quite as good as that third tier, and better than the guys below them. Hornets, Magic, Pistons, I think, could make a run at the play-in. You know, whatever. There's like one more team I probably am forgetting, but they're probably some random team. They're probably a bad team.
Indiana?
Yeah, they're not going to be
Wizards?
good. The Wizards aren't going to be good either. Bradley Beal's.
Yeah. So they're that bottom tier. Yeah, yes. I mean, I don't disagree with where you went at all with that. Not even a little bit. So nicely done. I'll talk about the West.
Yes.
So Golden State
I'm
Warriors.
interested about this.
It's theirs to lose. Golden State Warriors, league of their own, rightfully so. And then next, of course, you got the teams that did very, very well this season and the regular season. Phoenix and Memphis. I would put them kind of above the teams that are coming behind them.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Clippers?
That's my next team. I'm gonna talk about.
Okay.
So I was actually about to go there. So
Okay.
the Clippers are my team to really watch this year. It's not the other Los Angeles team, believe it or not, who's getting all the attention. But the Clippers, man.
They're stacked.
I mean, think about it. Paul George played 30 games. Kawhi didn't play. And they finished what? They finished 42-40. Without those guys. Yeah. So that's pretty solid in the Western Conference to do that. So, they could certainly sneak up to that tier if they're healthy. Then, of course, I mean, the team that is going to take a step back this year, as it appears right now, is the Utah Jazz. And who knows where Donovan Mitchell's going to end up here soon. But that's what I would say there. And then you got teams like Dallas, who I'd say is probably pretty even with the Clippers, just because Luka is amazing. You got Denver in there. I think Denver will be kind of in the mix again for 4, 5, 6 seed come playoff time. Another team that I'm very interested in seeing how it works for them this year is Minnesota. Do they keep continuing to progress upward, or do they kind of stay put where they're at? Anthony Edwards could have a big year. That dude is very, very good and very fun to watch. So, and then the bottom of the barrel, you got the Rockets, likely to stay there. Oklahoma City, Portland, looking to Sacramento. Did you see that thing that said no one in the NBA has played in a playoff game against the Sacramento Kings? And that's going to continue because they're going to make the playoffs next year. So they're bottom tier. Those teams, I think. I don't know. I mean, I don't see anyone. It's kind of interesting. Those that missed the playoffs last year. Now you got the Lakers, who you would think are going to make the playoffs, but who really knows with them? But I don't see any of those teams making the playoffs. I mean, Portland also missed the playoffs. But I don't know, man. I honestly don't know if
For
if
as
they can do
good.
it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I don't know, for you're probably going to say for as good as Damian Lillard is, they went 27 and 55 last year.
For as good as Dame is, it's like the team around him is still not very good. Oh, we're gonna build around Dame. Are you? Are you sure about that? Like, what exactly are you doing? Trading for Jeremy Grant, I don't really think constitutes you building around Dame. I mean, Jeremy Grant's great and all. Don't get me wrong, but he's not really a difference maker. He's not gonna change the landscape of your franchise in any significant way, really.
Yeah, the only way I see them moving up off of this, not making the playoffs last year is if Mr. Kevin Durant ends up in Portland somehow, but that's not gonna happen. So, but yeah, I mean, to summarize again, at Golden State, freaking amazing. Phoenix, Memphis, you're right though. Clippers, man, I was gonna hit on that right when you said it. They're going to be interesting to watch. I personally don't dislike. Now I dislike Kawhi for what he did to Philadelphia.
True.
But I'm a Kawhi fan.
I like
I'm
Kawhi.
also a Paul George fan. I think Paul George gets a lot of unnecessary hate. He is very, very talented, very gifted with the ball in his hands, can make plays for someone his size. So I don't mind them at all. I would like to see them make some noise. I wouldn't hate that. So as opposed to the other LA team. But yeah.
True. And it's like, for how good the Western Conference is, there's so many what ifs. There's so many, is this team going to be healthy? Is this guy going to be healthy? Are they going to make a trade? Are they going to make a trade? There's so many hypotheticals that need to go right in favor of a lot of these teams that it's just really unpredictable and difficult to rank those teams in the West. Way harder than the East.
Right. All right. So let's hit on. So Williams got, let me see, 1, 2, really 2 more big questions to hit on. So I'll take one, you take the other. The first one is in regard to the Sixers depth chart, the rotation there, and how we see that shaking out. He does specifically address Isaiah Joe and I think Paul Reed, on their likelihood to get minutes and a shot in this rotation. Again, we've touched on the starting 5. So if we just go at it like this, those starting 5 in Maxey, Harden, Tucker, Harris, Embiid. Then you've got Geroges Niang, who's a lock to get minutes. Again, this is all pending. This is all saying the roster stays the same. Matisse is going to get minutes. He's not going to be fighting for minutes. He's going to be on a key piece on the bench, at least in my opinion. Melton's going to get minutes, so that's up to 8. Right now, the backup center situation is between Reed and Bassey. So let's give the nod to Reed right now. This is just me going through it in my head. That's up to 9, and then you've got some guards, some wings. You've got Isaiah Joe, you've got Shake Milton, you've got Korkmaz, which is 12. So I think those, to me, those are the guys, and you can go wherever you want with this, but those are the guys that's going to be interesting to see how the minutes shake out, pun intended. So Shake Milton, to me, he should get the nod over Furkan. So if we're going to run a 10-man rotation, who gets that 10th spot is the way I look at it. Shake, Furkan, Isaiah Joe. Now, again, we know things happen, injuries happen, rest happens. But if everybody's healthy and we're looking at a 10-man rotation, I think the bench consists of Melton, Matisse, Niang, and Paul Reed. And that's my take.
Okay. And here's a question not only for us to consider, but for everyone listening and watching to consider. What about Danuel House?
Oh my gosh.
That's the thing.
He was the one yep.
You have Milton, Thibault, House, Niang as your 5 guard/forwards. And then you have your backup big. Who is that going to be? You cannot run. Niang cannot be the backup 5. That was no. House cannot be a backup 5, even though I'm sure Daryl Morey would love to try that out. That cannot happen. So who? And then you don't even. And then you.
House.
And then in that situation, you don't even mention Korkmaz, Joe, guys that I would like to see crack the rotation, but I don't think they will because of that depth that the Sixers already have. Milton, Mountain, and if House is a guard, you have 3 guards. You don't need one, and you especially don't need 2 more guards. So what happens there? Niang, I agree with you. He's definitely a lock because he's the Sixers' real only backup forward. He can play the 3, the 4. I mean, House can also play the 3 and the 4, and then you have Thibault who can play the 3. I would like to think House gets minutes.
Yeah.
Because
so, okay, let me pose it this way for you. So what just went through my head was, now again, all these guys are going to play. Yeah, all these guys that we just named are going to play. How much, we don't really know. Who's going to play 75 games and who's going to play 37 games? You know what I mean? I mean, it could be that big of a difference. But here's my thought is, let's say the year is said and done. You don't know how many games each guy played, but rank these names in terms of who gets the most minutes per game when they play and who gets the least minutes per game when they play. So rank these names. We'll take Niang out of it. We'll take Melton out of it
because those are locks.
Right. So
Correct.
Let's say Shake Milton, Isaiah Joe, Furkan Korkmaz, and Danuel House. Who out of those 4, if you got the crystal ball, who's going to play the most minutes per game out of those 4?
Right. So, assuming Melton and Niang
and Reed, let's say.
Okay,
right.
Melton, Niang, and Reed fill 3 of the hypothetical 5 bench slots for the Sixers. Right. So you have Thibault, you have Milton, you have House, you have. Did you say Korkmaz and Isaiah Joe?
Yes. Oh, and so 5 of them.
So there's
Isaiah
5 guys.
5 guys for 2 spots.
2 spots. Oh my god. My immediate answer is Milton and House. I think having guys like that, I think having a seasoned guy like House is going to be really beneficial for the Sixers. So not only would I love to see him get the 4 slot, I would think that he's going to. In that 5th slot, I got to say Milton. I think the Sixers could benefit from another high-quality shot-creating guard off the bench. A lot of people will bring up Isaiah Joe. Again, similar to our conversation earlier about Isaiah Joe starting, I don't know if Isaiah Joe has proved that yet. Yeah, he's been playing great in the Summer League. He's been awesome in the Summer League. He was really good last year in his limited time in the rotation. Right. I personally prefer Shake. I would like to think that the Sixers do as well. So I think that 5th slot would go to Shake.
The Milton backcourt, baby.
Wait, did we forget Thibault?
I'm all in. Huh?
Did we forget Thibault?
Well, you chose House and
so then Thibault is going to be out of the rotation. See, this is why I would think.
I mean, again, we know these guys are going to get minutes,
right?
So to me, it's easy. To me, you're exactly right. If we don't put Matisse in that, who gets the most minutes out of these 4 instead of 5, including Matisse, then I agree, and I think this is both hopeful statements that we hope that it's Danuel House and Shake Milton.
Exactly.
Do I think they're going to get more minutes than Matisse? That's a really hard thing to say yes to.
Yeah.
Matisse has starting minutes in this league. Depends how tired, I guess, the Sixers are of Matisse and his offensive woes. But man, I think that's a good conversation. This is good. We're going to have to clip this. I want to see Melton. And again, they're all going to get minutes. Are we going to play 11 guys some nights? Yeah. And those 11 are going to be those starting 5 plus Melton, House, Matisse, Niang, and Reed.
Correct. And I was talking about this, or we were both talking about this last episode. This is an issue, but it's a good issue to have.
Right.
We talked about this before. This is what the good teams, this is the issues that the good teams run into. Oh, well, we only have 5 slots. We have 7 guys who can play 5 slots. Who's going to make the rotation? This is something that the Sixers haven't had to deal with. And I'm looking at this shirt I have on my wall, 2019, 2018, even longer, because, I mean, they didn't have that issue. These guys are, looking back, these guys were not scrubs, but not very good. So,
right, it's like, do we play Jared Bayless? Or,
right.
like,
you got Amir Johnson, you got Zaire Smith, Jonathan Simmons, who's actually kind of good, James Ennis, who is the Sixers' best bench player in that playoff run.
But yeah, think about how far we come. Where it's James Ennis is now playing in literally this week I saw him playing in the basketball tournament, the TBT, for $1 million. His team got bounced. He couldn't make a shot to save his life.
Right. So
anyway,
it's like,
side note.
It's like the Sixers haven't had this issue in so long. It's refreshing to have this kind of conversation where you're literally you're not sure who's going to make the rotation because you have so much quality depth. And again, you can never have too much, but the Sixers are on a really good path right now where they can pick and choose the quality of depth that they want on a nightly basis.
Right. Yeah, and how many of these 82 games in this regular season are all 12 of these guys going to be available?
That's true.
It's not going to be a lot.
Illness,
and so it's a good thing to
right.
understand that, oh, PJ Tucker's out this night. One of those guys moves into the starting lineup. You know, whoever didn't play that last night, guess what? He's getting 12 minutes off the bench tonight.
Right.
Like, it's just how it's going to be. So you're right. It's a good problem to have. Why don't we hit on that last one that William has about the big fella? You see that one toward the end?
Yes. So the question, how can we limit Joel Embiid in the regular season so that he can be consistent in the playoffs? If every series goes 6 games, that's 24 games because there's 4 series, etc. To the finals, that is, of course, because the Sixers are going to win. The question remains, has Embiid ever played 24 straight games in his career? Is he going to be able to withstand that kind of force for 24 straight games? Is he going to be able to do that? Is that something that he has done, that he's proven that he's done?
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I don't even know the answer. Has Joel Embiid
ever
played 24 straight games? I will find out right now. But
I'm going to say no.
I'm probably going to say no as well. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go all the way back to 2016.
But to think about even that question, like,
straight games,
how can the Sixers help? I saw a post, like, it's interesting that William brings that up because I saw a post not too long ago about the Sixers. What they need to do now with the roster that they have set right now is coast, quote unquote, coast to 50 plus wins, and be sure to get both James Harden and Joel Embiid some rest days in that as well. So how can they go about doing that? I don't really know. I do know last year this was a topic we talked about a lot because the Sixers had Andre Drummond, who played very well when he was in Philadelphia before the trade. And so that was big. We don't have Andre Drummond. We also aren't relying on DeAndre Jordan anymore. And so I think the games without Joel Embiid, it's going to be very interesting to see how we perform. If we can win, if we can stay afloat when Joel doesn't play, then I think he's going to earn himself some more rest, which is going to be key. So that's my thought there is, can we weather the storm when Joel Embiid doesn't play? If he misses 7 games and we go 1-6, then chances are toward the end of the season when it's coming to seeding, then he's going to be playing in games where he could get rest. But if we go 6-1 in games he doesn't play, up to the All-Star break, and then guess what? The second half of the season, we can trust in our guys to get the job done. So I think early season, seriously, I really think early season is going to have an impact on what the Sixers do toward the end of the season when it comes to playoff positioning, and can we let the big fella sit? I really hope so. I think it will be huge. So that's my little rambling take there.
This past season, Joel Embiid played a stretch of 20 games and 21 games straight.
Okay.
I just counted. So, can he do it? He has done it. So the answer we can come to is, hypothetically, yes, he can do it because, yes, he's done it before, but can he do it again? I would like to think so because this past season has been his healthiest season so far,
Right.
and I can only assume and imagine that he's going to maintain that ability to stay healthy because he did such a great job of it this past season, I should say. Now, granted, he did have COVID, but I'm not really counting that against him because it's not an injury. It's more of an illness, and he's really suffered with injuries more so than illnesses in his career. So,
Right.
I'm going to use this past season as a sample size guideline, whatever you want to call it, because it's been his healthiest year yet. And you would like to think that having a much longer offseason is going to help a lot because,
Right.
well, I guess it'll be kind of be the same. Well, no, he'll get an extra month because last year the Sixers were eliminated. The Sixers were eliminated June 20th. This year they were eliminated May 9th, May 10th, whatever. So he'll get an extra month. You would like to think that'll definitely add to his recovery ability. And yeah, it's definitely gonna still take some games off. It's definitely still gonna take some games where he's going 50, 60, 70%. But it's a good thing because the Sixers can afford that now because they have James Harden. Joel Embiid can only score 20 one night because James Harden can score 20. Tyrese Maxey can score 20. Harris can score 15. You know,
We're about to get cut off, I think.
Really?
just so
1 minute, 20 seconds.
We're hitting it.
Okay.
Oh, is it a minute and 20 seconds? Anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean,
continue.
That's okay. Those are going to be keys for the Sixers, and they finally have the capabilities to actually do that. James Harden helps that a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well said. You know, you hope that Joel can get rest throughout the regular season and that come playoff time when we desire for him to play 20, 25, 26 straight games or whatever it is, you know, if the Sixers make a deep playoff run, that he is fresh and ready to do so. That's the hope. And this is Planet 76. So thank you, William, and all those great questions, great topics, great content. And this is episode 59 of the pod. Be sure to subscribe, and thank you for joining us on this one. We'll see you next time on Planet 76. Peace. Are you on Instagram? Why don't you go give us a follow at Planet 76 Podcast so you can be in the know when we drop new episodes. Thanks for listening to this one, and we'll see you next time.